excited to be here with you today, talking about some digital marketing trends to watch for in 2024.
Our hot takes on them.
Yes, our hot take. So we just posted a blog, I don't know, a week or two ago about some of the trend. We did some research about like what the trends are going to be in 2024. And so we thought it's a pretty long blog. And so maybe we just like give our hot takes on what we think based on that blog and kind of go through each of the 5 different like kind of categories that we covered.
I love it. We did the research so you don't have to.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Um, Everyone's got enough going on. They don't need to spend hours on hours researching trends. So, okay. So the first one that we want to talk about is all about AI. I know it's like the hot topic right now. It's been the hot topic for a while now.
And it's not going away and it won't go away. I think because it's helping marketers so much with that upfront heavy lift of like brainstorming, doing initial research, helping with outlines, different things like that. So I think it's still big, and some of the research that we did was just around that. Like the stat here is says, according to Demand Sage, around 37% of businesses in marketing and advertising are already using generative AI. So it's not going anywhere. I think that number is going to be increasing. What do you think? And how are you using it?
Yeah, totally. I think that obviously it's here to stay. And I think that if you are in marketing and advertising and you're not implementing it in some way as some part of your content creation process, you're probably missing out on huge time saving benefits. I view it more as like a time saver and efficiency use versus something that is going to like ever give me like a final product. Like, and I think that a lot of people talk about that. It's like AI as of right now, like doesn't have much like meaty teeth. Like you're not gonna tell it to write a blog post and you're gonna take that blog post and put it on your website. Like that's gonna be a crappy blog post.
Right.
So
Right.
it's like all gonna be high level. It's all stuff that's already been out there before. Like you have to give it your own take. But if you're like using it to help maybe come up with some ideas, helping with like outlines, or you've partially written a blog post and then it's helping you finalize it and edit it or put it in the brand voice that you want. I think all those different things are hugely, hugely beneficial.
I definitely agree. And I think using it and creating a process, like as an agency or a marketer, creating like a process for using it and then ensuring that you're also double checking any of the information that it is providing to make sure you're not stating false information
Yeah.
is huge. And so I think we did run into that with one client who was very particular about ChatGPT and had some, I don't want to say rules, but what's the word I'm looking for, but like structure around
Yeah.
using it. So we definitely, did not use it for that client. And so yeah, I think it's because I think there could be things that come out of like as plagiarism and that type of thing, especially depending on the space that you're in and how much ownership you're taking over what you're putting out there as your thought leadership pieces as well. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like it has to be a mix of both and using your human judgment as to when to use it and when not to use it for
yeah,
sure. So, I think that maybe people that aren't in the marketing space maybe think that it can be used as like your marketing team or something like that it's just going to spit you out exactly what you want, but that's just not the case at all. So, it's way to use it, but there needs to be rules and processes on how to use it.
yeah. We did a marketing workshop with the downtown Bellingham business community a few months ago around it. And it's really crazy the stuff that it can do. We gave it some prompts of helping to write some brand messaging, creating some content pillars for a made up like brewery in town focused on cycling, and video scripts and blogs and different things like that. And so it was interesting just to see like what came out of it. But again, like some of it, you're like, oh, that's really awesome. And then some of it, you're like, that's weird.
Totally.
Like,
Totally.
that's super awkward. No, no.
Hard pass.
Hard.
Uh, but I do think like it is going to be important for marketers to really stay up on like what the new kind of AI is going for, because I think it can be a competitive advantage for your business to use it in the best way possible. So it's going to be hard to just not be up to date on it. You kind of have to like force yourself to use it and play around with it.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
So, trend number 1, AI.
AI. Okay. Number two is branding. So, what are some of the new ish branding trends that we have?
Well, I think one of the main things that it's a trend, but I feel like it's people know it, and if you're in the industry, you really know it, is consistency with your branding is massive because, if you're how you show up on Instagram and then someone goes over to your website and you look differently, or you're sending out newsletters or whatever it is, and you're not having the same messaging, then you're just confusing and you're diluting your message and those precious seconds that you have in front of your audience. And it's like, as a reminder, before someone takes an action, they have to see your brand 7 to 10 times. So then if you're giving different messaging and you're not consistent in it, then that's just like upping that frequency that people are going to have to see you.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's a good way of phrasing it. I like that. Yeah. I know. And it's funny, like trends, it's like I feel like these things are almost like foundational things for branding. One of the cool stats, though, that came out that we found when we were doing the research was that according to Small Biz Genius, consistent brand presentation across all platforms can increase revenue by up to 23%. It's like, oh, this is such a good stat because then it actually feeds into your revenue goals, right?
right, which can be hard when, especially as like a CMO or someone in charge of your marketing, that you come and get a quote from an agency for rebranding, and then you bring it to your C-suite and your CEO, and they're like, "What? This is so expensive. Like, how is this even going to like move the needle for us?" And it's like, actually, by like 23%. You're so we need to rebrand, and we need to make sure that we're consistent and have someone help us like create those frameworks to ensure that we're having like that strong consistency.
Yeah, yeah, that's so good. The other thing that was interesting too, that I think was in kind of throughout a lot of these trends was the personalization aspect. Like obviously you have your brand overall, but then there's some personalization that maybe needs to happen based on, specific target audiences or what they're interested in. So that was another kind of trend that came out of our research.
I liked that. And then didn't we find something around kind of like transparency?
Yes, yes. So there was a stat by Salesforce. Every 3 in 4 consumers are likely to go with a transparent brand, especially the post COVID pandemic. So I feel like a lot of people use the word like authenticity. I kind of like that they're changing it up and using maybe transparency a little bit more because I don't know, authenticity gets overused so much. And transparency, I love it because I love when brands just own what they do and don't try to fluff it up
Right.
in any way. Like, okay, if you're going to be, XYZ type of brand, like don't pretend that you're into social causes or something like that. Or if you are into social causes, then like own that. So I
Right.
just love when people like own kind of who they are as a brand.
Yeah, and I feel like customers are becoming we're smart and
Yeah.
we can see through bullshit. So it's like, don't waste your time and money as a brand doing something or saying something that you're not actually invested in, because your customers are going to see through it.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that's like a hard line to walk for a lot of marketers because you want to like please and do that kind of stuff, but just trying to keep true to your values. So,
Invest that money somewhere else.
yeah, exactly. Okay. Content marketing trends. What do we have here? One of the ones is like talking about visual content. Obviously, video is going to be a huge thing. According to Social Pilot, around 84% of video consumers claim they've decided to buy a product or service after watching a brand's video. It's pretty powerful.
It's huge. 84%.
It's crazy.
That's like 8 in 10 people.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's 8 out of 10.
Yeah,
That's huge. I
I
mean,
know.
I feel like I'm a sucker for that too. But you become, like, emotionally invested in it after you watch the video, and I don't know, I feel like so much more can just kind of come across, as a video, and there's different ways to do it, whether you're doing it, like, videotaping, like, podcast or maybe it's, like, a brand video that then you, like, boost and use as an ad campaign on paid social, which I feel like I'm definitely a sucker for. I mean, I started, like, buying all the, like, eco cleaning stuff from, like, Blue Land on Instagram and, like, all these different things because I get sucked in by the video.
I know. It's crazy. It's definitely good. And I do like the trend towards more like less produced video because I think that it opens it up to a wider array of businesses that can't afford like a $50,000 video that they're going to use like over a 3-month period of time, you know? So yeah, I really like that.
I like that as well. And yeah, it makes it just so much more accessible. And just kind of again going back to that like transparency piece, just like that realness.
Yes. Yes,
Um,
totally.
and I think another thing you can kind of capitalize with that stuff is that user generated content and utilizing that more. And so I feel like you do have to kind of brainstorm more and get the creative juices flowing more of that like user generated content about like what's the best way to utilize that and not make it super hard on the user, but it's just finding those kind of like brand ambassadors or creative ways, maybe other types of like partnerships or ways like that that you can try to get some more of your customers content and reshare it because again that brings it back to that like transparency piece and
Yeah.
it's authentic and all that.
Yeah, I know. And I often have when we're talking about like nonprofits and B2B and user generated content, sometimes I feel like people are like, well, I don't know how that works. And you do have to get a little bit more creative, like to do that since you don't have like a product that you can just send to someone and then they take, you know, a video of it or something like that. And so one of the things that we've been trying to do more, especially with our B2B clients, is to do like video testimonials and helping them just shoot a quick little video testimonial just like this on their computer and then utilizing that as a way to not as a semi user generated content and like build that trust and really like show that they're real people behind these testimonials.
Totally, instead of just reading like the text of it,
Yeah.
it's nice to
Yeah.
see
You're
it.
like,
It's great on social media too.
totally. Totally. Okay. Another thing that I thought is super interesting from the research from the content marketing is that like blogs are still going to be super important. I feel like some people think that they're going away, but especially for ranking and SEO, they're going to be extremely important. But they're also saying that podcasts are going to just like keep increasing, which to me, I'm like, I thought it was already so saturated, but
Yeah.
I think they're going to be continuing to increase. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so. I think podcasting is just interesting. I agree. I feel like I'm like, that's been like the trend for a little while now. But I think people are also, it's kind of still like the Wild West with stuff. It's just like there's just still a lot of space, I think. And you can use it in multifaceted ways. Like, yeah, it's your podcast, but you can also take that content and then use it as kind of your anchor piece of content across your channels. Turn it into a blog post, turn it into social media posts if you're doing little videos or audio clips or things like that. So I think if people are investing in the podcast side of things, it definitely does take time and effort to do. But if you're already creating content, then why not?
Yeah. Yeah. Then you can, a podcasting is definitely repurposing it has a lot more longevity to it than maybe some other forms of maybe even just blogging, you know, because you have a video and you have little audio clips and things like that.
I love the blogging piece too because yeah, maybe some people aren't going to like sit there and read a longer blog. But again, that's how you're going to be ranking to come up when people are searching for your product or your service.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And honestly, I don't want to watch videos all the time.
yeah.
Sometimes I just want to read it, like get the little snippet that I need, right?
Yeah. Or be able to copy and paste the content for something else
Yeah,
or
totally. Totally. All right. Should we move into social media? The
yeah, social
love-hate
media trends.
relationship with social media?
Yeah, right? Well, I thought that it was super interesting, one of in the research that we did was just about how the younger generation, Gen Z is really using, like, instead of going to Google to search for things, they're searching for it on Instagram and TikTok. And so that's a complete, like, behavior change shift in 25, 30-year-old up. Their behavior right now, then it's going to continue over the next 5 or 10 years. May Who knows what's gonna happen with TikTok and, like, different things like that, but if they're having that behavior right now of, like, searching within social media apps for things, then ensuring that you're ranking with your, bio and the content and hashtags and all that stuff is even more important.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's crazy. Someone was telling me that most, Gen Zers like look for restaurants via like Instagram. I'm like, I'm still a do the Google search or the map
Google or
search.
Yelp? Do people still
Yeah,
use
Yelp.
Yelp?
No, we're dating ourselves. Um, oh gosh.
Oh. Okay, well, the other thing that I will share a little story about is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is not going anywhere. It's not just for, job hunting. As many people know, it's here to stay. It's going to keep growing. And the importance of it is like, and that it really works is last week I posted something on LinkedIn, kind of resharing something from our Brilliant Marketing page with my own thoughts around it. And then a couple hours later, I got a comment from a former client on there, was like, great job. And then a couple minutes later, I get a DM in my LinkedIn messages that's like, hey, Emily, like, it's been a while. I want to connect with you. Like, are you free next week? I want to send you some referrals. And so I was like, heck yeah. So there you go. LinkedIn works. So there's a great example where people are like, "I don't know, like, is it too saturated or not?" But the thing is if you have a network, and especially if you have a big network on there, it's like that's like a captive audience that's seeing your stuff and they're in the mindset of like doing business in the career space. And so if you're not posting on there, you're totally missing out.
Yeah, I agree. I do. I love LinkedIn. I think it's a great platform. I know people, have their qualms about it, but I think that it's just really, really amazing, especially for B2B.
Yeah, it's
So,
huge. Just like it's like the extension of the word of mouth.
yes, totally. It's like a way to capitalize on it.
Yeah. It's
Amazing.
It's like you don't have the Rolodex, you don't have, the paper business cards anymore. It's just like LinkedIn is basically like your Rolodex.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Yeah, so interesting. Is there any other social media trends that you are excited for or maybe not excited for?
Well, I mean, it came out last year, but something that I'm really loving is the ability to have the collaborator function on LinkedIn, or not, sorry, on the collaborative function on Instagram. And so I recently used that last week. I was at the Northwest Flower and Garden Festival in Seattle for a client, and I was posting on behalf of them. And I was able to tag the show, and they have 15,000 followers. And so our reels, like one of them is basically going viral, it has over 11,000 views on it just because I added them as a collaborator. They obviously was good content that they wanted to have on their page as well. They accepted it. And so we're reaping the benefits of that. So I think that's definitely a huge thing to be thinking about is once a month, what's a partner or someone that you can capitalize on their audience through like the collaborator function on Instagram and cross promote your content and
Yeah.
and capture a new audience.
Absolutely. And don't just do it randomly. Like you should ask them before you do it.
Yeah.
Just
I
throwing
mean,
that
you can see what happens. But it's not the most strategic thing.
No, I love that too. I feel like we've been doing that a lot more with different clients, especially with yeah, with Northwest Flower and Garden Show and some other people. So that's been really cool.
Definitely. What about
Yeah.
you? Do you feel like there's anything on social media trends?
Yeah, I went to this like Hootsuite trend webinar and it's like kind of interesting, similar to stuff that we're talking about. But it was funny. One of them was like, "Oh, I think long form video content is like kind of coming back." But then when they were explaining it, they're like, "Oh, what I mean is like more like series, like social media, like short form video, but in like series. So it's like,
Mm.
weekly you have, let's say you're a educational doing like one piece of educational content on pandas each week or something like let's just say that. But so I thought that was interesting. I know that people do a lot of that, but it was a great way to kind of reframe for ourselves and some of our clients of like, okay, what's like some consistency that we can bring to our content every week or every month, and the ability to dive a little bit deeper into a specific topic that we normally wouldn't be able to on social media with just like a 30-second video or a 1-minute video. But it's like, how could you like break that up and then dive deeper each week? And maybe it doesn't make total sense to everyone that's watching it, but if they are interested in it, then they can go back and watch all the different videos and the series of videos.
Love that. That's cool.
Yeah. All right. So our last one is email marketing trends. Anything here that you're excited about?
Yeah, one of the things was just around like personalization is going to be really key with emails, and I know that just for myself when people even like my name is in the email or yeah, it's like specific somehow to an interest or something like that. So I think that's really interesting, and like the stat here is 52% of consumers say they'll go elsewhere if the email isn't personalized. So that means like half of your audience you're basically like could potentially be missing out on if you don't personalize it. And so, yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, I feel like, AI is definitely going to help with the ability to personalize more emails to more people. It obviously takes more time if have one email and then you have to write it 5 different ways to 5 different groups of people. But I think, it's showing that the ROI for that is actually pretty good. Yeah, and then I think the other thing that most people know, but like everyone's checking their email. Most everyone's checking their email on their phone. So just making sure that it looks good on mobile first before designing it for, a desktop because most of the people are going to be reading it there.
Totally. Yep.
Yeah. Well, is there any other trends that we should talk about before we wrap it up?
I don't think so. I think we hit some good ones.
Yeah.
That was great.
Well, yeah, I know. So fun. Well, if you as a listener have any other trends that you think we missed or you're really excited about, please let us know, comment or email us. It's always fun to hear what you all have to say. And we'll see you next time.
See ya.